Well, Tottenham won, Newcastle United 2. That's the first time this season Newcastle have won in London. I think we drew at Palace, we got beat at Brentford, got beat at Chelsea. I can't think of any others, but it was a brilliant, resilient win from Newcastle United. That's 6 wins on the bounce, and I'm sure them Geordies are going to be partying tonight. So we're going to be talking about the game as a whole, and then I've got a few individual players I want to talk about, but Tottenham came out the blocks really aggressive, and we looked shocked in the first 5 minutes, and that's where Tottenham's opening goal came from. In a general sense, I thought it was a game of two halves. I thought we looked so good and comfortable. We managed the game well in the first half. We actually managed it well off the ball at times in the second half, but we were getting a little bit leggy. So let's get into it. I mean, like I've just mentioned, Tottenham started aggressively. They came out the blocks, and that's to be expected. I mean, even though this Tottenham squad is quite depleted, their front four is really dangerous. So I expected Tottenham to create their chances. Exactly what I said in my preview. Tottenham are very good at going forward. Going forward isn't their problem. And they got their opening goal, and I didn't think anybody was at fault for their opening goal. I generally just thought it was a well-organised and taken goal from Dominik Solanke, so credit to him. What do good teams do? They respond. Newcastle United responded almost immediately with Anthony Gordon. So let's talk about Anthony Gordon in a second, because this season, he's kind of been given a little bit of a new role where he's having more of an impact in the game off the ball, where he's allowed to come inside, support Alexander Isak, running those inside half channels. And I thought that was causing Tottenham loads of problems in the first half. I thought the first half, if you were to marry up our transitions against Tottenham's transition, we had more belief that we were going to score. Tottenham looked good going forward at times, but you kind of didn't feel like they had that clinical aspect. Whereas when we were going forward, it looked like we can score, even though I don't think Alexander Isak was at the races today. But I like what Anthony Gordon is slowly evolving into. He's starting to add a more consistent end product to his game. We're going to talk about this in more depth later on, but thought he was a big threat in that first half, not only in possession, but out of possession. I thought he was causing Pedro Porro a lot of problems, even though I thought Pedro Porro had a good game today. I thought Anthony Gordon, the way he was just coming inside, moving in between Porro and Dragusin, was so clever. And I thought he really did look dangerous. Might not receive the ball all the time, but those runs were extremely threatening. And I think if he can continue doing that throughout the season, his numbers are just going to elevate even more. Now, as we're talking about Gordon's goal, we need to bring up that handball incident, because it's divided opinion on social media. And for me, in terms of the rules now, the goal stands. They've changed the rules at the beginning of the season as opposed to last season. So the rules now state, so this is the new handball rule before a goal is scored. If an attacking player's accidental handball immediately precedes another player scoring, the goal will now be awarded, when last season it was likely to have been ruled out. And it uses Newcastle's last season, coincidentally, as an example. However, a player will still be penalised if he commits an accidental handball immediately before scoring himself. So what that's saying is, if a player accidentally handballs it, which Joe Linton did, I think it was more of a ball to hand. His hand wasn't in an unnatural position. Then the goal stands. But if Anthony Gordon had a handballed it and then scored immediately after, the goal would have been disallowed. So the rules absolutely imply that it's a goal. So it just squashes any uncertainty around it. I haven't yet listened to Ange's post-match interview, but whatever he says, because you know he's going to blame that handball, don't listen to him, because it's absolute nonsense. The goal stands and correctly stands. But let's be honest, Newcastle were not brilliant today, but it was a performance that I wanted to see, if this makes sense. So in the first half, we looked dangerous every time we went forward. We did in the second half as well, but not as much. In the first half, we were the better side. We needed a third goal to kill the game. We get that. I think there was a chance just before half time. We score that where Isak could have controlled the ball and he could have played it to Bruno, and we would have easily went 3-1 up. Isak didn't have his boots on today. I know he scored, but he looked quite off it. His touch wasn't there. And those games are going to happen, absolutely. But he still managed to get on the score sheet. And that's a sign of a terrific player. Even when they're not at it, they still make a big impact in the game, and Alexander Isak did. Again, I'm not trying to criticize Alexander Isak because he's been terrific. So an off day, that's going to happen. But I just thought his movement wasn't as sharp. He wasn't shown for the ball. And again, his touch was slightly off. But like I say, I'm not criticizing the guy. I'm just give my opinion on what I saw. But what I like about Newcastle at the minute, we're not too reliant on Alexander Isak. Bruno's chipping in with goals and assists. Anthony Gordon's chipping in with goals and assists. Jacob Murphy's chipping in with goals and assists. So our front four, they're all collectively contributing, and that's a sign of a very successful team. So that's the beauty about Newcastle in a minute. And I thought in that first half, we managed Tottenham's threats tremendously well. And I want to give a shout out to Sven Botman because I think in the opening 5, maybe 10 minutes, you could tell he was a bit rusty. You could tell his match sharpness wasn't there. But I actually think he was our best defender on the day. I think he grew into the game and absolutely showed his quality. He's been a big miss for Newcastle United. So it's good to see him back on the grass playing football and looking very well. And towards the end of the game, I don't blame the lad for looking tired because he hasn't played 90 minutes at this level with this intensity for so long. So I don't blame the lad for coming down with cramp or whatever, but I just thought throughout that, if you were to average his 90 minutes, he was very good. Shaky at the start, but that's expected. And then he grew into the game and he just showed his class. And I do think we haven't even seen the best of Sven Botman yet, so I wanted to give him a shout out. But going into the second half, and I don't want to get on the referee, I just want to say he was terrible in that second half. Terrible against Tottenham and Newcastle, so I'm not trying to be biased here. I just thought I couldn't understand some of his decision making, but I don't want to put it all down to the referee. What I enjoyed about Newcastle's performance, I want to talk about the positives of the second half, which showed in that second half that we can be difficult to beat, we can be resilient. Yes, Tottenham didn't take their chances, they weren't clinical, but Newcastle dug in, fought. It was a very tough half for us, very tough half. And I thought we're compact, we're dug in, and we're extremely resilient. That's what I wanted to see from Newcastle United because against the likes of when we played Brentford away, we didn't see that side of our game. So it's good to see it now. And I just thought we looked tired in that second half. I thought Eddie Howe could have been a bit more proactive rather than reactive. And I thought Tottenham were very unlucky not to score in that second half. And I'm not trying to make this a Tottenham channel, but I enjoy football, and I thought Lucas Bergville was unbelievable today. I thought he was the bright spark in Tottenham, and I was quite surprised he come off. I think he's a very good player, somebody that I was talking about since his youth days. Even in his youth days, he was the star boy of Swedish. Even in his youth days, he was the star boy of the Swedish academy. So it's good to see him showcasing his talent on the Premier League level. But I don't want to get at Newcastle too much because when we're not fluid, we need to be difficult to beat. And we certainly were. So that's one positive. This 11 has played a lot of football over December, and there's so many games in January as well. And this just highlights our squad depth. Our squad depth just isn't there. And this is something we're going to have to look at in the summer. Can we better our bench? Can we better our starting 11 at first? If not, let's have more quality on the bench. So when we do make a lot of changes, our quality won't decrease as much. But I thought for that second half, we did manage it quite well. Tottenham had the moments, but they're always going to have the moments. These are all good teams in the Premier League, so they're going to figure out ways to break through you. And I thought what Ange did was quite smart. He had Spence inverting into midfield. I think what Newcastle did brilliantly in the first half in comparison to the second half is we had a man-to-man press. We allowed Tottenham's goalkeeper to have the ball, but as soon as that ball left that goalkeeper's foot, we were pressing in a man-to-man system. And I think we didn't do that. We sat off them in the second half, which invited pressure on. So ultimately, they were going to create chances because these are very good teams in the Premier League. So naturally, they're going to create if you give them the opportunity to create. Yes, we're resilient, which is a positive, but we need that intensity. But I don't blame the players because these players have played a lot of football over December, and it doesn't look like slowing down in January. And finally, I just want to touch upon Anthony Gordon because I think he caused Tottenham so many problems today, and I think he's a big threat in transitions. He's more intelligent with his off-ball movement is what I like, because last season he was more like a touchline winger. This season he's been given the freedom to come inside, get on the ball, try and get in behind defenses. And that's exactly what we're seeing from Anthony Gordon. So, and this is why he's being more threatening. He now has 3 goals, 4 assists in his last 8 games for Newcastle United, 5 goals and 4 assists in 19 Premier League games this season. And this is what I was talking about before. When Isak's not on it, can somebody else step up? And I thought he did today. I thought he was brilliant. But all round, we're seeing 2 sides of Newcastle today. We're seeing in the first half, we're seeing Newcastle at their fluid best. In the second half, we're seeing a more resilient Newcastle. So I actually don't mind that performance when we get the victory, obviously. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, guys. Let us know in the comments below what you made of that game. Do you think we deserved the victory? Do you think the goal should have stood or should have been disallowed? Let us know in the comments below. But once again, I just want to say I appreciate your time for watching. I would love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on your way out. And until next time, away the lads.